Jaguars fans, man, it is game day. We have a Thursday night football matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals, man. This is going to be an awesome game. I am more than excited to watch it go down in prime time. You know, you like to think about the prime time matchups this team has had. They haven't been very good, but we have never had Trevor Lawrence playing in a prime time matchup. So that, bare minimum, what to think about this game and the season. We have Trevor freaking Lawrence. Speaking of Trevor freaking Lawrence, we have the battle of two number one matchups. We have Trevor Lawrence being the 2021 first overall draft pick versus Joe Burrow, who is the 2020 first overall draft pick. It's a battle of it's the battle of number ones, honestly. That's how this is going to get billed by the NFL. This is how I'm going to bill it. This is how everyone should look at it, because you think about the core piece of any football team, it's their quarterback. And these two teams have very, very young first overall quarterbacks. You look at Trevor. He's got an offense that's struggling right now. They've played one very mediocre defense in the Houston Texans, and then they've also played two decently competent defenses in the Denver Broncos and the Arizona Cardinals. So how does Trevor look with this offense against a Cincinnati Bengals defense that is potentially missing two of their biggest components? They're missing one of their starting corners in Chidobe Awuzie, and then also they're missing their safety in Jesse Bates potentially. They haven't been ruled out officially in I believe their game time decisions. So we'll find out here in a couple hours what happens with that. But right now they're looking at two massive pieces in their secondary not playing. There was a moment when Trey Waynes looked like he wasn't going to play. Ultimately, he does come off the injury report, so he will be playing. But, Chidobe Awuzie and Jesse Bates, what happens with them? That's one of the biggest storylines going into this game, the Bengals secondary. Now, you flip it over to the Bengals for the offense. Joe Burrow with that, you throw a dart at a wall, and if you have the Bengals depth chart up there, you're going to hit a weapon. You think about Joe Mixon. T. Higgins, I don't believe is going to play on this game, but you got Joe Mixon. You got Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd. You have incredible weapons. Tyler Boyd could go to any offense in this league and be an incredible addition to that offense. Joe Mixon, same thing, incredible addition to any offense in the league. And then you also have Jamar Chase, who was the number 4 pick in the draft. Now, he is an incredible weapon. I believe he has 4 touchdowns in 3 games. He's going to look to add to that in this week. Man, it is a hell of a matchup right now. Can the Jaguars secondary do what they did against the Arizona Cardinals, did against, Rondale Moore, or Christian Kirk, and DeAndre Hopkins? Can they do that against the likes of Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd? Who knows? I'm excited for it, though. It's going to be a hell of a matchup between the two of them. If I had to give the nod off on paper, I'm absolutely giving it to the Bengals. The Bengals have Joe Burrow, who lit the league up last year prior to his injury. He was on pace for a good year, to say the least. And all they've done is add Jamar Chase. They've added, a second year onto Joe Burrow, and this offense looks like it's really coming full circle for the Bengals. They're looking like they're going to have a really competent offense in the years to come. Now, for Trevor Lawrence, can't say the same. So I'm absolutely going to give the nod to the Bengals between Trevor versus Joe Burrow. I'm absolutely going to give them that nod. But long term, I'm absolutely taking Trevor Lawrence, baby. Go Jags. So there's another huge matchup on that offensive side of the ball for the Jaguars. It is the Jaguars' offensive line and James Robinson versus this Bengals front seven. This Bengals front seven is someone that has had 13 sacks in 3 games, and they have two great defensive players right now. They have B.J. Hill, who has 3 sacks so far this year, and they also have Trey Hendrickson, who came over from the Saints, came over in free agency, has 2.5 sacks this year. So already those 2 players have more sacks than the Jaguars do thus far. I believe the Jaguars have like 3 to 4 sacks this year already, but it doesn't match to what the Bengals have done this year. They've done an incredible job getting after the quarterback in the 3 games they played thus far. Can James Robinson and this offensive line help protect Trevor? so far the Jaguars have only allowed, I believe, I want to say 5 sacks. I'm feeling good about that 5 number. I want to say they had 3 against the Cardinals, 1 against the Broncos, and then 1 against the Texans as well. So I want to say 5. And can they continue to protect Trevor the way they have thus far? They've gone to get up against, I would say 3 Hall of Famers, potentially 4, and Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, J.J. Watt, and Chandler Jones. They've gone up against a who's who of current Hall of Fame or future Hall of Famers defensive linemen, and they've only allowed 5 sacks. That shows me that this front 5 for the Jaguars can protect. Now, this is also a Jaguars front 5 that has allowed James Robinson to rush for 5.2 yards. Granted, he has only rushed for like 30. He's only rushed 30 times, give or take, a couple rushing attempts. But 5.2 yards per carry, where is that at in the NFL? It's not a lot of places. One place it is in Jacksonville, Florida. James Robinson is showing why he was a 1,000-yard rusher last year. He's showing why they need to continue to run the ball with James Robinson. And as long as James Robinson can help out in pass protection and they can get this running game going, this is going to be a decent game, in my opinion. But if I had to give the nod to one of the two, this is a low-key David versus Goliath situation. They have a very good Bengals defensive front line versus the Jaguars front 5. It's a very sneaky group. Obviously the Whirly Bird is going to give Andrew Norwell and this Jaguars offensive line a bad look. Whenever you have an offensive lineman do a little pirouette on a flea flicker and let J.J. Watt run free at your rookie quarterback, it's going to be a bad look. But 5 sacks in 3 games, it's not terrible. Considering the fact that the Bengals have had 13 in 3 games, 13 sacks given to other teams, 5 doesn't look that bad. So if I had, this one's going to be tough. I obviously the numbers say I should take the Bengals in this one. Dare I say this is a draw? This is a game time thing because the Jaguars don't have anyone really that's going to be missing for this. Maybe AJ can, maybe, but I don't think I really think this is a draw here. This is going to be a game time thing to see what happens in the game. There's a lot of games that happen this way, and you think about like the old days when Jalen Ramsey would go up against DeAndre Hopkins. It's a draw. We're just going to see how it plays out. That's how I play this. I think the Jaguars have a very, very underrated, front 5, and I believe James Robinson is one of the best pass blocking running backs in the league. So I'm gonna give this one a draw. Right now we got the Bengals winning the quarterback room right now just because Burrow has the second year, and they have the better offensive weapons, and then we have the offensive line, the Jaguars' offensive line, and James Robinson against the Bengals front 7. I'm calling that one a draw. Game time, but. This is going to be the big matchup here. The Jaguars secondary versus the Bengals receiving corps. And Joe Mixon. I'm absolutely throwing Joe Mixon into that loop. You look at the matchups that's probably going to happen in this game. It's going to be Jamar Chase versus Shaq Griffin. Last week, Shaq Griffin followed DeAndre Hopkins, held him to 3 catches and 21 yards, no scores. Can he repeat that against Jamar Chase, who has scored 4 touchdowns in 3 games? Tough ask. And then you also have Tyler Boyd versus Tyson Campbell making his first start on the outside. Obviously with the trading of C.J. Henderson, Tyson Campbell goes onto the outside and brings in Trey Herndon into the slot. Tyson Campbell goes to his more natural position on the outside. So that's going to be 2 huge matchups to watch for the Bengals wide receiver corps with Jamar Chase against Shaq Griffin and then also Tyler Boyd against Tyson Campbell. And then this is going to be the weird matchup here. Joe Mixon versus Miles Jack. Obviously last year the Bengals played the Jaguars and they routed them with Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon had a career day fantasy-wise. I believe he had 3 touchdowns last year against the Jaguars. He was just able to pound them, not even in a way where he was running through the tackle and the guard. He was just finding the open holes, rushing to the outside. Can Miles Jack and Damian Wilson, maybe we bring Andrew Wingard or Rayshawn Jenkins into the box, hopefully to slow down Joe Mixon. Maybe that's what we do. I don't know. But all I know is Joe Mixon he crucified this Jaguars defense last year, and he really showed why he's a legitimate fantasy play. Now, ultimately, with this with the secondary versus the Bengals receiving core, is can the safeties play well? You know, you have Rashawn Jenkins and Andrew Wingard. Andrew Wingard has been the butt of 1,000 jokes in Jacksonville, saying that he can't do this, he can't do that. Rashawn Jenkins is this, he can't do that. You know, he's not worth the money. He hasn't played up to what his contract is. He hasn't played up to the fact that he was brought in to solidify the safety room. They've played well thus far, in my opinion, especially Andrew Wingard. He's definitely stepped it up from week 1 to week 2 to week 3. You know, he had the interception in week 3. He's the only turnover this Jacksonville Jaguars defense has had. So for me to say he hasn't played well would be a bold-faced lie. So if I had to give the nod to Jags secondary versus Bengals receiving core, eat me up in the comments if you wish. I'm going to give this one another draw. You know, Tyson Campbell he's just as Andrew Wingard has progressed, Tyson Campbell has progressed. And especially through the first half of the Cardinals game, he looked great. You know, he had a couple pass breakups against A.J. Green, who is a legitimate good wide receiver in the National Football League. And he went up toe-to-toe up against him. And unfortunately, he did have the one play where he didn't play the ball at all. He played the receiver, and he just kind of let A.J. Green catch it. Now, you know, if he can fix those little mental things of just going up and after the ball, I'm okay with him. So I'm going to give this one a draw as well. And then, man, it's gonna be Matt Wright. I believe his name is Matt Wright, the Jaguars kicker. Because apparently Josh Lambo is not going to play this week, so it's going to be on Wright to kick everything for the Jaguars. He's going to be on kickoff duty. He's going to be on extra point duty. He's going to be on field goal duty. The Jaguars fans will probably cheer Wright if he only makes extra points. You know, it's sad that it's come to this point where the Jaguars are so inept at the kicking position where one made field goal, because to this point we have not seen a made field goal, mind you. We have not seen a made field goal, and then at the same time we have also not seen, you know, consistent extra point kicking, because I believe Josh Lambo was 5 of 7 on extra points and then 0-3 for field goal. So he's literally kicking 50% every time he goes onto the field. So it's going to be him versus the stigma that the Jaguars can't kick right now. Will Wright be able to overcome that stigma? I don't have a problem thinking he won't overcome that stigma. So I'm going to absolutely give that nod to him. And just as a quick recap, I'm taking Joe Burrow over Trevor Lawrence. In the long term, I'm taking Trevor. But right now, Burrow has the better receivers. He has that extra year underneath him. And I'm going to roll with Trevor. I'm going to roll with Burrow on that one. You know, give Trevor time to develop. Give him a couple of years, and then we'll revisit this conversation. I will more than likely be taking Trevor. And then for the Jags offensive line and James Robinson versus the Bengals front seven, I'm taking a draw there. The Jags offensive line has only allowed 5 sacks. The Bengals front seven's has taken 13 sacks. I believe James Robinson is one of the best pass blocking running backs in the league. I'm not concerned there. On top of that, the Jags secondary versus the Bengals receiving core. You know, Jamar Chase versus Shaq Griffin, Tyler Boyd versus Tyson Campbell, Joe Mixon versus, you know, whoever they put on him. I'm throwing Myles Jack on him. I'm going to give a draw on that one as well, mainly because Shaq Griffin held DeAndre Hopkins to 3 for 21. That's my big outlier right there, and I'm going to stand on that hill. I'm going to die on that hill. If he doesn't repeat, okay, I'll come off it. I'll die on it. Okay. You know, you can roast me in the comments if you'd like. And then it ends up being the Jaguars' new kicker, Wright. Can he get out of the stigma that the Jaguars kickers can't kick? I have him saying yes because, you know, individual kickers kick individual things. So, you know, Thursday Night Football, I'm excited for it. I hope you guys are as well. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please like, share, and subscribe as it helps expand the Jags Fan Cave community, because I love bringing you guys these content, whether it's, you know, FanDuel Sportsbook prop bets, whether it's preview videos, whether it's recap videos, whether it's, you know, whatever. I love bringing you guys this content, so I hope you guys enjoy watching it. And without a doubt, stay safe and go Jaguars.